Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we are delighted that you have welcomed us into your home, and we hope and pray that you had a wonderful 4th of July and you're still celebrating with family and friends. We certainly would love to hear from you, so send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com and check us out on Facebook. Well, the question for today's show is this. In relation to the 4th of July, how do the foundational principles of the Declaration of the Independence, the quote, "All men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness," how does that continue to guide you and the United States?
You know, Joe, we always like to take time around July 4th to actually read the Declaration of Independence. And so if you haven't done that, maybe you're off today, it takes a couple of minutes, and to read that through our founding document, and a document which has affected people all over the world, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among these life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the profound nature of that. So we want to speak about that today. We'll hear from others as well. But first, we wanted to speak about our grandchild, James, who made the AllStar team. Our son, Wesley, is the coach of James. And we're just so proud of him and all those players. I think they're about 6 years old or so. And they came from all different teams for their community, played against other cities and so on. Different age groups played. And I
just wanted to say that this is the real America, all across America. This was in Lineville, Alabama, and it was a beautiful all-star game. Boys and girls, little boys and girls came out and played, black and white, everyone on the field, Hispanic standing for the Star-Spangled Banner, hats taken off, hands on their heart. I mean, it was like, yes, this is America, because sometimes we lose sight of that. And so it was so beautiful. And I think they were the Patriots, right? They were the New Sight Patriots, and they were red, white, and blue. And it was so beautiful, and it just, it kind of like set the world that we know is upside down, right side up, and said, this is who we are.
And we did want to show James, but the thing that really triggered it was exactly what you said, that before the games began, the Star-Spangled Banner, men, women, everybody, as you said, hats off, everybody with a hand on their heart.
Hundreds of people.
And it was so hopeful in the midst of so many things that we're facing in the United States of America these days. Like, what is it that unites us together? The flag, our country, our Creator, the laws of nature, nature's God, the Declaration of Independence says, that there's rights that have been given to us, not because man gave us our rights. This is the United States of America. These are God-given, inalienable rights that the world didn't give to us, this country didn't give to us. Almighty God gave them to us, and no government can take them away from us. Hand over the heart. We know our ills and our sins down through the generations and everything else. But those words, even as our nation was founded, and we had the grave sin of slavery, and women couldn't vote and so on, but those words, we're equal, inalienable rights, life, liberty, happiness. Where is that for women? Where is that for slaves? Fought a war with hundreds of thousands of people giving their lives for freedom, the civil rights movement and so on. Declaration of Independence words in the Constitution gave all of these things. And so it's just great to see people, aware of the nation, the failings of the nation, but forgiveness and mercy and empowerment and the very founding words that convict us and bring us to that God, that we want to please Him, that this nation really is founded on something transcendent, and our laws are based upon that. So we need to read the Declaration, the Constitution, we need to pass that on to our children, know what that is, and be Catholics and Christians and lovers of God first, but to also be patriots and to live that out in a greater fullness. So how do the foundational principles of the Declaration of Independence, like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, continue to guide you and the United States of America? 1-800-221-9460. You can give us a call or email us. jimandjoy@ewtn.com. So we'll be right back. There's plenty more to come. Hope you're enjoying your extended weekend. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, our question of the day is, how do the foundational principles of the Declaration of Independence, like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, continue to guide you and the United States? And today we have one of our former guests on who is a wonderful human being, an outstanding patriot, a Vietnam prisoner of war. He's an author, a husband, father, just a wonderful human being. And we had him on our show, and we were captured by him. And we first saw him on Dr. Ray Guarente's show, and we looked and we said, we want to have Captain Guy Gruters on our show. And we contacted our producer, and we're so excited to have him.
Guy is a true hero, prisoner of war, as you said, Joy, 5 years in what's called the Hanoi Hilton. I think John McCain, I know John McCain was in there as well. And yet, Guy is just so filled with life and the joy of the Lord, and dedicated Catholic guy. And so, Guy, it's wonderful to have you back with us today. And we're speaking about the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness because of God, transcendent rights. And thought of you, Joy and I thought of you, just that you would comment, especially this 4th of July weekend, and your thoughts on liberty and on freedom. Go right ahead.
Okay, yeah, just like to say, first of all, the Declaration and the Constitution really give us freedom. First time, I think, in history, countries have freedoms like this, and I didn't really appreciate it. I don't think you'll do here until you lose it in prison camp. And the freedoms that we take for granted here are just not there. For example, there is no God. The interrogators make it very clear there is no God. The government is God. No church is allowed in the country. None. The priest never went to church in 5 years or anything near it. No mention of God allowed. That's just torture if you mention God, because the government is God. No freedom of press, no freedom of speech, no freedom of movement in the country. I was in the convoys. There's constant checkpoints. This is not just for POWs. This is for their own citizens. You can't go from city to city. All jobs are government jobs. There are no private jobs. This gives total control to the bureaucracy, to the government bureaucracy. No welfare. If you don't have a government job, you starve to death. Food is for government. There's no private food. There's no private gardens. There's no private land. No private property of any kind. No guns for citizens. The citizens can't fight the government. The government has all guns. Torture and prison and death by government employees is at their whim for the citizens. The citizens have to shut up and do what's told, no matter how stupid it is, and it's really stupid. The government bureaucrats take all extra wealth, but they have theirs taken by other government bureaucrats too. There's no freedom whatsoever for anyone. Everybody's in hell on earth in a communist socialist country. It's a law jungle. Whatever anyone can get away with, there is no morality, and I mean no lack of, you can't say don't steal or don't kill or don't anything. Okay, do whatever they take women whenever they want them. It's just absolute hell on earth living in one of these countries. They're completely unrestrained. It's sheer power. To get an idea, looking through the prison camp one day, the walls, the fence there, we were making coballs, and there was a guard over us, and there was a family picking through the pile of refuse of the pig. Literally the pig droppings, the pig refuse, the sweepings from the pig pen, which had this pig manure in it. And this family is sitting there eating the manure. This is a young family, man, a wife, and 2 children, probably 5 and 3. Horrified. And I said the guard could speak a little pidgin English, and I said, who are they? And he said, family with bad attitude. In other words, bad attitude means you did something that a bureaucrat didn't like, and so they take your job. There's no welfare, remember, okay? So
Right.
They're eating manure of pigs. So I said, why doesn't anyone help? I mean, really, in a tone of voice like that, why doesn't anyone help them give food, okay? And this guard leans back on the rifle and smiles and waves his finger back, and he says, oh, no. Folk can help. Bad attitude, too, okay? So the families that don't do what the bureaucrats are tell them to do are starved to death, all right? And this is really the way it is in the entire country. I was throughout the country for 200 miles. Okay, so our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution giving us freedom from the most dangerous enemy we can ever have is our own government unrestrained. Is a major deal. Our founding fathers knew that from history and created a chance for the people to rule, not the government, the people.
Yes.
These freedoms are really vital to us, and we're the only people, in my opinion, we're the only country in history that's ever had it, because these governments, they just love power, and they love to take away the freedom from the people. Okay, so all I'd like to say is we really want to keep our freedoms. They're worth dying for in every way.
Yeah. Well, it's just so important. You know, we just hear and see what's going on in our nation, and some of the surveys that are being taken in polls, and we're hearing people flirting with socialism and communism, or really being more committed to it. You know, don't know much about the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, and are so critical of it. What do we need to do in terms of passing on these truths that are self-evident, and the various freedoms we have, as you say, freedom of faith, to vote, freedom of movement, freedom to teach our children as we need to? How do we strengthen this nation?
Well, I think that the best way to do it is to get rid of public education and make all education by churches and private schools under the control of the parents' choice. So the parents choose the education for their children, get back to a full Christian education, the 10 Commandments in every way, and make the 10 Commandments the absolute basis for sure of every single thing done in the country. Then we'll have a utopia of love here, and the whole world will follow us, as we already have. Over 80 nations have tried to adopt our Constitution in one way or the other, because they are so sick of these absolute, arrogant, power-mad, bureaucratic governments. I mean, it's all over the world. 80 countries have desperately tried to throw off the rule by government who think they're gods.
Well, Guy, thanks so much for being with us. You've impacted me and Joy once again, and I hope many other people there. Thank you for your love for this nation, for your service to this nation, for speaking truth to us. And may we heed the words that you spoke with us today. God bless you. God bless your wife, Sandy, and all of your loved ones. Thank you, Guy.
Love you guys. God bless you.
Bless you. Well, what a real American hero.
You know, I really wasn't ready. I mean, we had him on the show, and I've spoken with him. I spoke to him, you know, before the show. But just how he spoke about what communism's like,
right,
and what goes on and what happens.
Like,
do you really understand what this is like? That you have nothing really to say. The government is God. The government is God, and how important our Declaration is, because it's saying, no, the government's not God. God is God. There's a creator. There's something transcended here, and we derive our fundamental rights of life, liberty, happiness, freedom, religious freedom, you know, the Bill of Rights, that which is there. And you know, it just seems like so many people just maybe they don't know. And so we're willing to just kind of pass these off or give them away and look at everything that's bad in the nation and say it's been a bad nation right from its very roots and core. Really? I mean, have you read, you know, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America? And as you know, Guy has said, 80 nations or something try to adopt, you know, what we've tried to do here, and are flourishing, you know, through the founding of our forefathers and what was there in terms of the Declaration.
Well, and he made such a great point. The problem is that it's not being taught. We're not learning this in our schools. And there was a day when you and I were in school, it was posted on the walls. You knew, and you had to memorize it, and you know, you had to read it, you had to study it. I mean, that was our U.S. history. Well, now they're rewriting U.S. history and telling you what it is and what it isn't,
you
right?
have to rewrite the history.
Right.
Move America away, its moorings, from its history, except if there's something evil we could point to in the history. Remember that, but don't remember how we fought to undo that.
Right.
Yes, we're founded on slavery. Are we really founded on slavery? No, hundreds of thousands of people gave their lives, the civil rights movement and so on. Just selective history. Right. So we have with us John Giles is here today by phone, our dear friend. He also has been on our show. John, we know that you are a lover of this nation and a lover of the church. And your thoughts on the question today about the Declaration of Independence, inalienable rights, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, God-given. Your thoughts and reflection, John.
Well,
I'll just tell you, like you and so many other Americans that love this country, we just realize as every day goes by that our founding fathers were brilliant, and they were also spirit-filled in the design here. You know, history teaches us that the Ten Commandments was the moral code, the moral foundation for the English common law. The English common law was the genesis for the U.S. Constitution. But the particular question you're talking about today, we've been endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There are rights given to us by the state, and then there's rights given to us by God. And our founding fathers, you know, after they had, you know, basically inked in the Constitution, they realized that government had there was an exposure of the citizenry of an overreach of the government. So, you know, they passed, 17 amendments in the House, and by the time they got it out of the Senate, it was 12, and when it went to the people, they codified those 10 Bill of Rights,
Yes.
which is, you know, our rights, and they're unalienable rights. They're not manufactured on earth. They're not manufactured by man. They're God-given rights, and so it's just powerful. And, of course, the one that's probably one of my favorites is the first one, the First Amendment, you know, the freedom of speech. We can speak. We should be able to speak. The freedom of press, you know, the freedom to peacefully assemble, the freedom to redress our government where we have grievances, and of course, you and I both, we've all kind of lived that First Amendment, and so it's a powerful document, and it's always that firewall. It's a firewall between a government that might be tempted to become tyrannical against its people. And, you know, the separation of powers doctrine between the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch brings that balance so that we've been able to survive it. And I think y'all have been talking about other countries wanting to mirror our success all these years. Well, it's really in that document.
John Giles, thank you so much for your faithfulness to the Lord and for your love for this nation and passing on generation to generation these inalienable rights and truths. God bless you, brother.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think what we certainly need to do is we need to pray as a people of God. And I know EWTN has prayed so much for our country, especially during the pandemic and everything that we've gone through, to pray for a revival, pray for a renewal, pray for an awakening, just in the hearts of the people, that the people of God would rise up for a time such as this. It's like, you know, you could look at it and you could fall into despair and think the powers are going to rule and reign. No, people have to rise up. It's the same thing within the church, right? I mean, do we have to wait for the bishops and archbishops and everybody? No, it's the people of God that need to be faithful. It's the people of God that need to be noble and true and good citizens and take back what is rightfully ours and not be dictated to by the media or our government, and to say this is how it is and you will conform, and if you don't, we'll take your guns away, we'll take this away, because you hear that and you think, how could this be happening?
So we have a comment here. It amazes me how insightful our forefathers were, and it still holds true today. We must continue to pray that these principles survive, and even though they seem to be threatened, we must persevere and stay close to God in our families and in our daily life. This is from Dinah on Facebook.
Yes.
Very much what you were saying. And so we need to pass these things on. It's 4th of July weekend. Have you read the Declaration of Independence? Have you shared this with your children in the midst of all the festivities that we're having here? Generation to generation. And if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I'll hear from heaven. I'll forgive their sins. I'll heal their land. I'll heal the United States of America if we but cry out to him. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, before we wrap up today's show, we're going to go to Rome to check in with beautiful Joan Lewis. Now, Joan, what are your thoughts on today's topic?
Well, hi, Jim and Joy. Hello to you, and happy July 4th. Happy Independence Day to you and to our listeners, of course. Now, I've not been in the U.S. for this holiday for many a year, and I think just for that reason alone, I feel it much more deeply in my heart. You know, you ask, is our country still guided by the foundational principles of the Declaration of Independence? Those beautiful words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, among the writers, of course, of that cherished 1776 document was Thomas Jefferson. And interestingly enough, a number of years after writing that, he penned a letter to the director of the public revenue in Philadelphia, and he wrote, quote, "This ball of liberty, I believe, is now so well in motion that it will roll around the globe." Well, I found that fascinating, and so I did some research, and I discovered that from 1776 till today, approximately 120 nations and peoples have issued similar declarations of independence. So that is so inspirational. But at the same time, I ask myself, have we lost something since 1776? And I think the answer is yes. Do those words still guide us? Are they still self-evident? And it seems we've lost belief in the true, full meaning of those words that have now led to so much unrest and division in our country, unworthy, of course, of the writers of the Declaration. Now, I know that my faith and my belief in the beauty and uniqueness of our country, those are the things that keep me positive and hopeful. And I honestly believe that the majority of Americans feel exactly that same way, that they are guided by the words of the Declaration of Independence. So, and by the way, July 4th marks independence, but it also marks the day in which we praise the patriotic founders of our country. Now, I just have one thing to say. Let's memorize those 36 words. Let's include them in our prayers of thanksgiving, and let's discuss them with others. You know, let's truly let them guide us as men and women created equal, endowed by God with inalienable rights. Let's do this as we try to keep alive the dreams and the hopes that are expressed in the Declaration of Independence. So let's make those words self-evident again. Time's up. Back to you.
Joan, thanks so much. That's a wonderful commentary and a great suggestion. Let us memorize those words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, and so on. Memorize them. Let's memorize Scripture. Our nation, the United States of America, is made for a religious people. Some people don't want to hear that, but it's all about the Creator. It's about the laws of nature and nature's God. Our nation is about God, and if we are not a religious people with a holy reverence and a holy fear for God, with self-discipline, self-mastery, that we might love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, that we might love our neighbors ourselves. And that's basically the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Love God and love your neighbor and be ruled by God. Various ways to express things and treat one another, but treat one another with respect and in love. Life is first, a respect for human life in and outside of the womb. Later this week, we'll be speaking to Ron St. Angelo, award-winning professional photographer, another Vietnam veteran, 2 tours of service in Vietnam, photographer for the Dallas Cowboys for like 30 years, I think.
Yes.
So he'll be with us. He's a wonderful guy, and you're going to want to see that show and listen to him and our time together. So God bless America. Lord have mercy upon America and all the nations of the earth. You're an important part of the EWTN family. You're never alone. You're always at home with Jim and with Joy. Bye now.